This new lens from TT Artisans is only $69 US, but that is not the most remarkable thing because it's designed for full frame, it's very compact, and it's a decent performer. So based on all of those metrics, it's an unbelievable value. But before I jump in and dive deeper into this lens, let's talk about another unbelievable value, and that is the sponsor of this video, Crucial. If you don't already know, upgrading your computer's RAM and memory can be a bit complicated. Fortunately, the Crucial System Scanner by Micron is trusted by millions of users to safely scan your computer and provide you with compatible memory and storage parts in seconds. I've been using Crucial for years with various older iMacs and MacBooks and various PCs that I've owned over the years, and they've made upgrading my system super duper easy. You just use the scanner and you get guaranteed compatible products that are easy to install and make your computer feel new again without the cost of replacing it. Crucial is also one of the largest memory manufacturers in the world, so they offer the widest selection of memory and storage for your PC. And as they have been doing this for 25 years, they have the expertise and quality and reliability to back that all up. So click on my link down in the description below and also get 15% off all Crucial products with my code Arthur15. Special thank you goes out to Crucial for sponsoring this video. Now, let's take a closer look at this 50mm f2. It comes in a tiny gray and black box. Inside there is a warranty card and a user manual. The lens is nestled in some foam. It comes with a plastic rear lens cap and a metal screw-on type front lens cap. I never use lens caps, so this doesn't bother me, but some people seem to hate screw-on front lens caps because they are a little bit inconvenient. The lens itself is a tiny spectacle. Looking at the rear cutout, I don't understand how this is a full frame lens. Just look at how much bigger the 50mm f0.95 cutout is, and that isn't even a full frame lens. It's designed for APS-C. Anyway, this lens feels solid. It's all metal and glass, and it comes in at 190 grams. Starting at the rear, there is a metal mount with no electronic connections and no weather sealing of any kind. Moving forward, there is a TT Artisan logo, a focal distance scale, and a focus ring. The ring is smooth, it's well damped, with less than 180 degrees of rotation. It has even resistance throughout the rotation and little screws for adjustments as well. It does extend the lens barrel a little bit, but only by about half a centimeter. In front of that, there is a small aperture control ring with distinct clicks going from f2 to f16. It feels solid and it sounds good as well. Around the front, there is a small front lens element with a bunch of facts. This is a DJ optical hit 50 f2, 43mm filter thread, TT Artisan logo, and a serial number. It appears they have made well over 850 million of these lenses, but I could be wrong. Mounted on my ZV-E10, compact is the name of the game. It looks good on APS-C and it looks good on full frame. It's an easy lens to use. From a design and build quality standpoint, I have no complaints. So last week I was at Sony Condo, which is an annual trip where Sony invites a bunch of famous photographers, famous YouTubers, and for some miraculous reason they invited me as well. And it was a lot of fun to network with people who were just as in love with shooting Sony as I was. Also gave the Tokyo team some nice feedback about new products. Anyway, everywhere I looked, I saw A1s and FX3s and G Masters galore, and for most of the trip, I walked around with this setup, my Sony ZV-E10 and this tiny little $69 lens. Do I feel like I was undercompensating for something? Yes, but I will say one thing that I didn't enjoy really shooting with the ZV-E10 because it doesn't have a viewfinder and it makes it a little bit more challenging to find focus when you're zooming in, especially in direct sunlight. But I was still able to get some decent sample photos, I think, at least. So let's take a look at those. All of these are shot basically wide open. There's maybe 3 or 4 shots where I stopped it down to f8 for some landscape shots. I used it on my ZV-E10. I also used it on my A7C. So you'll see there's a little break in the samples, and then the second half of the samples will be on a full frame sensor. Let's take a look at these. All of these unedited, straight out of the camera, JPEGs, ready, set, go. honest, I was expecting far, far worse. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a replacement for a Sigma 56mm. If you're looking for an excellent portrait lens for your APS-C camera, just get the Sigma. You shouldn't really be looking at things like this. However, if you are looking for a tiny, fun, inexpensive lens that gives you good optical quality, surprisingly, this might be right up your alley. Sharpness in the center of the frame is great. It's not mind-blowing, but it is adequate. I compared it with the Meiki 50mm f/0.95 at f2, and I think this little TT Artisan is just a touch sharper on my a6100. Colors are pretty good. They are not as punchy as some other lenses, but they aren't overly muted either. They do have a different sort of characteristic to them, almost vintage-esque in instances. As for problems, there really only are two. First, this lens does have chromatic aberration. I noticed it quite a bit in my samples. It's not as bad as some other lenses, but it's not as good as some other lenses either. Second, on full frame, you get some very heavy vignetting in the corners, and this lens does smear the corners in the very extremes, almost as if there is not enough lens to cover the full frame sensor. This does not affect APS-C camera bodies, as I really didn't see much corner smearing or vignetting, but if you are buying this lens for full frame, expect to spend some time correcting the dark corners and the softness there as well. I guess I could also mention that this lens does flare quite a bit in certain situations, but I've seen worse. Beyond those things, this is a great little lens. Focusing was nice and easy and accurate even without the viewfinder. I was able to zoom in. I had to program a special button on the ZV-E10, get the focus dialed in and take the shot. And out of all of my samples, I probably threw away about 15% because they were slightly out of focus, which is a pretty good hit rate when it comes to manual lenses. In terms of bokeh, it is solid, smooth, good circles. This lens has a 10-blade diaphragm, so the results are pretty pleasing to the eye. And at 50mm, there is plenty of subject separation. This is really a better lens than some fast f/0.95 manual primes out there because unlike those lenses, this lens is sharp in the center, wide open. It doesn't suffer from the chromatic aberration as much as some of those lenses, and it doesn't have that hazy, dreamy look either. And at the end of the day, you aren't paying $300 to $400 for it either. It's very affordable at $69. I have to evaluate this lens based on its price, and I have to say, it's pretty dang good for the money. If you were to ask me what's a better lens for APS-C or for Sony full frame, for $70, I really don't think there's another option out there. At the moment, I think this is the cheapest 50mm lens available for full frame Sony mirrorless, which is pretty remarkable. And I could see this in a wide variety of situations. For example, if you were to go out and get a dirt cheap $400 Sony a7 and slap on this $69 lens, for $469, you could have quite good results if you were okay with the manual focus. So if you're looking for ultimate budget, again, this is a good place to start. So anyway, that is going to be it for my review of this TT Artisan 50mm f2. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for all of your likes, all of your comments, and your support. Stay tuned for more, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.